Yes, good morning, and welcome directors and Palisades community. To start with, we're going to have a presentation by Kevin and Diane from Fort Knox on delinquent tax collection.
Good morning,
Welcome,
everyone.
guys.
Because we're working to the stand, just I mean, I don't know how you guys typically do it.
Just make yourself comfortable wherever.
So everyone can figure out how my back to anybody. So hello. Let's do it. All right. Well, good morning. Thanks for having us out today. I'm Kevin. This is Diane. We're with Fort Knox Law Associates. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. I was actually a school board member myself for 8 years, so I've been on your side of the table looking out at the public, and I appreciate your service. And I know it's a lot of work, especially on a Monday morning. So thanks for having us. For those who aren't familiar with our firm, I'll just give you a little bit of a background just so you know what we do. For our bosses, our entire practice is collecting either real estate taxes or utility fees. That's all we do. We've been doing it in Pennsylvania for 35 years. Across the state, we represent more than 10% of the school districts collecting their delinquent taxes. Here in Bucks County, we represent now 7 school districts. We were recently hired by the Shawnee School District. They just hired us very recently to start collecting next year their delinquent taxes. So we've been in this county for a long time. And again, we've been doing this for 35 years. So we have a lot of knowledge in this area. We have a large staff of about 115 people. So this is our bread and butter. We've been working with you guys for over 20 years. So we've been doing this for a long time. We have a track record with your district, with the history of success. Our cumulative collection rate since we started working for you guys exceeds 108%, including interest. So that's a lot of money that's been coming in over the years. And I know I was on when I was on the school board, I was on the finance committee too. It's nice to budget when that money's coming in all the time. Since we first started collecting for you guys in 2006, we've helped reduce your tax delinquency rate by over 34%. So that's a big reduction since we first started. There's a lot of incentives in our process, and people realize through those incentives that the benefit of maybe staying delinquent is not there anymore. So for those people that don't have the ability to pay, we work with them. We have payment plans, hardship programs. But for those people that do have the ability to pay, and just for some reason have been choosing not to, over time they saw that maybe I should just start paying on time. And again, from a budgeting perspective, it's a lot easier when someone's paying currently versus delinquently. And this for us, this is not unusual here. I mean, throughout the state, for our school district clients, 86% of our school district clients have seen a reduction since we first started working with them. So this is a trend that we tend to see. But again, it's good for everyone because most taxpayers pay on time, so they don't necessarily want to hear that there's money on the street that's not coming in, and their taxes could be potentially going up because this money's on the street. So this money is coming in a little bit quicker that way, and then over time, people are seeing that I should just pay on time rather than delinquent, which is better for everyone. Another interesting statistic that we have is that over 56% of your property owners that we've been collecting from haven't paid our firm any attorney's fees. And what that means is that they're responding early to our collection process. They're responding within really the first 2 steps in our process. So it's good for them because they're paying less fees and costs because they're dealing with this early. And it's good for the district because that means the money's now coming in quicker. So again, these are incentives that we have in our process that have created this, this mechanism where people who have been delinquent are paying on time, and those people that are delinquent are paying quickly. So really good for everybody. Part of the reason we're here is that we do know that the county has reached out to some of our clients in Bucks County and trying to, in a sense, solicit to have them come back to the county. This happened to us last year with the Pennsbury School District. So Pennsbury School District was a client last year, no longer a client this year. And similar to what happened here, the Tax Claim Bureau came out, met with the school district, and talked to them about what they can do. We actually got to listen to an audio transcript of that school board meeting and what they said. And the reality was that from that meeting, there was, I don't know another way to say it, there was a ton of misinformation that was provided to the school district with regard to our services. And they made numerous misstatements about what we do, and that really, in a sense, concealed the truth about our practice and how we act with our clients. So just to go through a couple of these, because I think it's, to me, it was sort of surprising. One of the first things that they said in the meeting is that we know that property owners who languish 3, 4, 5 years report on. That's what they told the Pennsbury School Board report. We'd only been there 3 years. So, I'm not sure where these 4th and 5th years coming from because we hadn't even been there that long. And at the same time, our collection rate for the out years, the 2 oldest years at Pennsbury, exceeded 100%. So I'm not sure where there's any accounts that are languishing when our collection rates are that high for the out years. So that was one of the first statements that they made. Second statement is that they get them into this ridiculously low, unsustainable payment arrangements without them realizing that they're never going to pay this off. Our payment plans are set with our clients. We go through the parameters with our clients when we establish them in the first place. And in reality, our payment plans are capped at 6 months. We don't have really long payment plans because if we extend payment plans out too long, the person never becomes current. And as you see, we got a lot of people now becoming current as a result of our process. So it's not a true statement. Again, and again, the parameters are worked with the client. Like we don't just unilaterally set what we're going to do. We go, when we're hired by our client, we go through all the parameters, and these are payment plans. Like I said, and the same thing with you guys. It's a 6-month payment plan. If it needs to be extended, that's when our hardship program comes in. And that's a little bit more case to case. But again, that's with the permission of the client to set this hardship program for people that have more needs. But again, false statement made by the tax lien bureau. This one, they said she calls and she gets an attorney from our firm, who then in turn bills her for the phone call because they charge per hour in the contract. We never charge property owners for calls. We don't bill by the hour that way. So again, it's a completely false statement. This is a crazy one. They say a $4,000 tax bill on a 75-year-old widow is now $14,000 because she hasn't paid in a couple of years and thought the letter was a scam. I mean, this is just an outright lie. I mean, I don't know. There's no other way to describe this. That can never happen under our process. There's just no other way to characterize it. There's no way that kind of debt would ever, I mean, it's impossible under our process for it to accelerate an extra $10,000. It's crazy. But this is something they said during this public meeting. They said a lot of people didn't know they had to pay Portnoy. Over the 3 years, our cumulative correction rate was 92.5%. And as I said, in the out years, it was over 100%. I think this indicates that people knew where they had to pay. They were collecting all the money. They also said that working with Portnoy is burdensome. And Diane's your main contact here. And ask your staff, anyone who works with Diane, she's not only extremely competent, she's probably the easiest person to work with. I mean, like, it's just, I mean, again, these are just, these crazy statements are made. Unfortunately, after that meeting, no one came to us. We didn't know there was a meeting. No one came to us and said, like, are these things true? Are you guys doing this for us? They just unilaterally said, all right, well, sounds great. We're going to go with the county. And we never had a chance to even discuss these issues. And so, pretty disappointing. So we looked at the materials that were now provided to your school district from the county, so on the website from the meeting. And again, it appears that they're trying to, they weren't as outwardly, I guess, they didn't use our name, but they provided information that really can't be described in any way but misleading with their promised new approaches of how they're going to start collecting. So again, without one of the sheets you can see in there, that's the one that they provided, right? So without using our name, they said the sheet called measuring up against third parties. And it's a spreadsheet, and it applies that the cost to the property owner is significantly cheaper after the first notice if you go with the county than with us. And it's just not true. I mean, the Tax Lien Bureau says that the cost under our firm's process, again, referring to a third party, for the first notice is $493.50. Our first notice costs $25 to the taxpayer. Their first notice costs $59.16 according to their own material. And they failed to include that interest under the process probably starts to accrue right from day one. So, I mean, they throw this out there like this is like we're so much better. It's wrong. My first notice is $25. For someone who's a first-time delinquency, this is an oversight. They pay $25, they're in and out. And I know from my time on the school board, like no one's complaining about $25. If you're delinquent, you pay $25, okay, and that's it. So again, I'm not sure where this figure came from, but the statement that this is the lowest possible cost to the homeowner is just not true. They also state that there will be a 5% increase in revenue to the district by opting to use their new program. This isn't true. Palisades is already receiving 100% of their taxes from us. When we collect it, your district decided to shift that 5% commission cost to the taxpayer. So you're already getting 100%. So you're not going to get any more under their process than you're already getting from us. And we've been doing this for 21 years for you guys. So again, it's a false claim. They claim that there's going to be a faster remittance to Palisades under their new collection process. We remit to you guys weekly. Every week we collect the money. The very next week you get an ACH transfer of the money with transparent reporting. So unless they're going to give you daily remittances, I'm not sure how their process is going to be faster than the one you currently have. We've been doing this for 21 years, so this isn't like all of a sudden we're not changing our process to sort of catch up with some claims that someone else is going to do something differently. We've been doing this all along. From day one, we've been giving you guys weekly remittances. Again, in their materials, they state that we bill by the hour. And while we do have the ability to bill by the hours in our fee schedule, the reason for that is that we want to have some kind of deterrent for someone who wants to, maybe play games with the litigation system and try to drag something out. When you guys hired us, there's a fee shifting resolution that tells the public going forward, these are the fees that can be incurred. It's a long list. It's pretty much anything that could possibly happen. We generally don't do 90% of those. There's a couple things that we tend to do in the process. And as I mentioned, most people pay before there's any attorney's fees. So they're not getting to almost any of those. But we do have the ability to charge by the hour. We don't do it. I don't think there's a single case in your district where we've ever billed by the hour. That's in the fee schedule. But because it's in our fee schedule, the tax bureau is telling everyone, oh, these guys bill by the hour. Someone calls, they're going to bill by the hour. We don't. We never did. And if anyone would ask us, they would know that. Unfortunately, that didn't happen in the other district. But again, it's just not true. They claim that there's going to be a decrease in the number of properties sold. In 21 years, we've only sold 7 properties for your district, and none since 2023. We very rarely have to sell any properties. You need teeth at the end of your process. Like if you have a collection process where at the end of the process, someone can realize I can get there and not do anything, excuse me, people will do that. But again, we have that teeth. We very rarely have to use it. So again, 21 years, 7 properties sold. And for the tax claim bureau, their process, generally, that's the teeth of their process. They're going to sell the property. Go up to this point, I'm not sure what their new process is even going to be. It doesn't look like they've shared that in their materials. But typically, the tax claim bureau's process is, up until this point, we send out the first year delinquency, we send out a notice by July 31st saying you're delinquent. And then pretty much a full year goes by. And then the second year, there's going to be a tax sale. And the third year, so the tax sale doesn't sell the second year. So throughout their process, and again, it's not a cut on the tax claim bureau. That's the laws that created tax claim bureaus. That's their process. They sell property. But, the threat to say that they're going to have you're going to see a decrease, I'm not sure. I mean, again, this is in 21 years, 7 properties. So 1 sale every 3 years on average. They also state that they have a great location for your taxpayers. Our Allentown office is at best, I should say at worst, another 4 miles from here, I guess from the average taxpayer to go to our Allentown office where they can pay and they can make payments, they can walk in if they wanted to, versus the Doylestown office. So it's not, again, the time saving would be more for any taxpayer here in the district. They also say that you're going to see improved collections due to tax claim efficiency. And they list for the past 3 years their rates. We've done better than the rates they're already putting up there. We've done better, and actually it's a month shorter. So they have rates for 2022. They said the average rate for the tax claim bureau is 62% collected by December 31st, 2023. Our figures for you guys by November 30, 2023. So even a month earlier, 66.48%. The next year, 2023, they had 63% by December 31st, 24. Ours was 65.6% by November 30. 2024, last year, 63% by November 31st, 25. Ours was 66.5%. So we've been doing this for you guys, and they're saying they're going to do better. We've been doing better for you guys than they're advertising. And again, it's a month earlier even. So our figures would be even higher if you gave us another month on those figures. And another figure, they don't share the amount that they can collect by June 30th. So that's one thing that we promote, is that with our tax clients, we actually collect a fair amount of delinquent taxes in the current school year. So the fiscal year for the school district is June 30. We actually collect a fair amount of the delinquent taxes within that current school year. Last year, over 36% of your taxes were collected by June 30th for your 24-25 delinquent taxes. They don't promote what they're going to do because in general, up until this point, they probably didn't even send out their first letter yet. So they're not sharing that information. That's something that we've been doing for you guys, and we've been doing it well. And again, everyone knows from a financial standpoint that the faster that money comes in, the better for the district. So that leads to the big question. And the big question is, with the tax claim bureau already receiving its full 5% commission from you guys without having to do any collection work, really, why isn't it spending so much effort to try to get you guys to come back to the county, including making misleading statements about our firm to reclaim this work, again, when it's already getting all the money it would be getting? So as a former school member myself, that would lead to the question, why? And we've seen a similar process before in Montgomery County. So years ago, Montgomery County Tax Bureau tried to do something that was rather similar to this, subsequently failed. But the firm they had brought in, they brought in a firm to sort of work with them to do this work. And as a result of that firm, not in Montgomery County, but in Allentown and in Scranton, 2 mayors went to jail. And the reason they went to jail because there was pay-to-play politics, where there was literally payoffs coming out of this firm to go to them to get these types of contracts. Not saying that's happening here in any way. I don't know. But again, it's a sort of a head scratcher. Like, why would someone say, like, I'd like to do your work when I'm already getting paid for the work for not doing the work? It just doesn't make any sense. So everything that they've sort of shared with you guys as to what they can do, we've already been doing it for you guys. We've been doing it for 21 years, and we've been doing it really well. Cornwall bosses, established payment plan, check. We've been doing an established payment plan. Hardship program, check. We've done that. We've been doing that for 21 years. You already receive 100% of your delinquent taxes and penalties and interest through our firm, check. We've been doing that already. No changes needed. We've been doing that for you guys. We get the money, you get it next week, check. All these things they're saying they can promote, we've been doing it for you guys, and it's proven, and we've done it really well. We report weekly. We give you transparent reporting. And as far as I know, just from the materials, they're not even really, the Tax Bureau hasn't shared even what they're going to be doing. They haven't shared what their new processes. So it's got to be something radical. But all of a sudden, they're going to be doing something very different. It's strange that they're not really talking about it. With us, our cumulative collection rate, again, exceeds 108%. I'm not sure how you can do much better than that. The county claims that the new process is going to help decrease future delinquencies. We've already helped decrease your delinquencies by 34%. Over 56% of your taxpayers, again, haven't paid any attorney's fees to our firm. So that means they're responding quickly and they're keeping their own fees down. We have a staff, as I mentioned, of 115 employees to handle all aspects of the collection process, take all the calls. I can't imagine the Tax Bureau is going to bulk up their staff to allow them to do flexible payment plans and hardship program like we do. We've been working with you guys since 2006. So again, I'm proud of our service. I think our record speaks for itself. We've had excellent customer service. I don't believe you're getting taxpayers that are coming to your meetings to complain. I know that was the same when I was on the school board. It was a high-performing school district in Chester County, yet at our meetings, you guys are doing a great job. The people there didn't love us. The people that came to the meetings usually had an issue. They wanted to talk about something that was concerning them. Looking at the audience for us, there wasn't a lot of smiling faces on the school board. Yet over my 8 years, no one came to our meetings and complained about my firm. We were doing the tax collection for that district. And again, people don't tend to like the delinquent tax collector. It's a pretty easy target. And I know that if we weren't doing a good job and we weren't providing good customer service, that audience would have people in there saying, why did you hire these guys? And I don't think you're seeing that either. And we would know about it. And they're doing a great job. So again, we're out here because we heard that there's some knocking on your doors from the outside, and we want to sort of set the record straight and make sure you understand what we've been doing for you guys. Again, we're doing a great job here. We wouldn't be in over 10% of the school districts in the state if we weren't doing a good job in providing a service that wasn't beneficial to the school district. So I'm proud of what we do. I don't know if you guys have any questions. I think I threw a lot of information out to you. That's why we did the handouts, but maybe you guys have a couple of questions. Want to ask Diane or I anything about our process? But
if you could just summarize, the process and what it costs the taxpayer.
Sure.
You said we hit December 31st. You get notice of any delinquent taxes at that point.
Correct.
We send out a letter by March.
Yeah, it's almost as, in a sense, it's as quick as you guys send us the taxes. So I looked years ago. I remember during COVID, Tim Schramm at PASBO had asked me to do some presentation because we have a nice subset of the public school districts in the state. They were curious to see how COVID was affecting collections. So we had quarterly meetings with PASBO, and we're basically giving statistics of what our collections were throughout COVID to see how they're affected. So I was looking at the data to help give them a presentation. And one of the things I realized on the side was like, I was curious to see like how, like when the claims were coming in, how the collections were. So again, one of the big statistics for our firm is like how much delinquent taxes we can collect by the end of the fiscal year for the school district. But there was a direct correlation between the date that we received those taxes from our clients and that figure. Because some of our clients, even our tax clients, they would send us the delinquencies in May. And if you send us in May, of course, the amount you collect by June 30th isn't going to be as high. So as early as you send them, it could be like probably like 2 or 3 weeks. You guys send us delinquent. So as early as we get them, we start collecting. So the first step, right, we're going to send out that validation notice that I mentioned, $25 to the taxpayer. So that goes out. It gives the taxpayer 40 days to respond in some way. If there's an issue, whatever, set up a payment plan, a hardship program, but $25 in and out. So there's no extra thing. We don't charge anything to the district. They're done. So in 40 days, if they don't respond, the next step in our process is what's called a notice of delinquency, fee shifting. And this is the notice that tells them that going forward, the cost of collection, the attorney's fees will be borne by you. And it lists what they are, because we actually list the attorney's fees that are listed in the resolution that you guys enacted. We put them in that letter. And again, it gives them the options again for payment plans, hardship programs. That comes at a cost of $40 plus postage, certified postage. So again, those two combined, we don't consider those attorney's fees. So that's why we're saying we have a good collection rate right away with regards to people not even going on that second step. Again, over 50% of the people responding to those, you're talking about $70 now, a little bit over $70 for those 2 steps in the process. Then going forward, the rates start to go up. And that's what creates incentive for those people that have been choosing to ignore the process, but realize, okay, then now there's real ramifications. And unfortunately, those steps, the fees, when they go up, that's what causes the lower delinquency rates, because people who have gone through the process once and now have paid more money than they would have if they would have just paid on time realize, oh, I guess I should just pay this bill on time. I'll find another bill that's not going to, I'm not going to incur anything extra if I don't pay. So the third step in our process is a legal demand letter that informs them that a lien will be filed against your property. That comes to us $175. So you're going 25, 40, now 175. And again, that is unfortunately for some people who've ignored the first 2 steps, that's where the wake-up call comes in. They realize, okay, I got to deal with this obligation. So again, we give time between each step in the process. They always have the ability to do a payment plan, a hardship program that never goes away. Even at the end of the process, they can still enact that. If they don't respond to that, we file a lien against their property. That comes at a cost of $250. When the lien is filed, that's when interest starts to accrue under the Municipal Claims and Tax Liens Act. That's the law that we proceed under for you guys. Interest accrues at 10%. So again, now you have a little bit of a fee. And there's actually, along with that, so that's the fee to the taxpayer. There's also a hard cost that the court charges. We front that for you guys. So we actually put that out for you guys and collect from that. But again, that's a little bit more incentive now because now interest is accruing, but that's the district's money too. So that's why our collection rates are over 100%, is because that extra interest that's been coming in this process now, that goes right to the district. So you get a little bit of benefit for the time value that's being lost. But again, you're creating now incentive for people to pay. If they don't respond to that, the 5th step in our process is what's called a writ of serve fascis, which is, it's akin to like a civil complaint. It's actually served by the sheriff. So for someone now who's ignored the first 4 steps, including the lien, now the sheriff's at their door, they're handing them paperwork, for the delinquent obligation. Again, it's a wake-up call. So every step that we do, it creates a little bit more incentive from the step before for someone to do something if they ignore those steps. And again, at any time during that process, they've had the ability to do payment plans and hardship programs. And if they're still getting things from us, that means they're ignoring those steps. So we do the writ of serve fascis. If they don't respond to that, we send them what's called a 10-day notice, letting them know that 10 days of judgment can be entered against them. If they don't do that, we would enter the judgment. And then the very final step, as I mentioned, is that sheriff sale process. But again, universally, it's very rare that we have to sell property. Just as more of a global example, last year our firm had about 89,000 accounts for all our clients across the state. And in total last year, we sold 25 properties. So we're really not selling lots of properties. But again, it's important that you have the team.
Another question that we had years ago was some taxpayers were complaining or saying that they never received a notice because the notice went to their bank where they had the mortgage or something.
Not from us. We don't send it to the bank. We send
on the second step, that certified letter has to go to a person.
It goes to the property owner. Yeah, it has to. I mean, that's the law. I mean, the first step and the second. Everything that we do is, it's considered in rem. So even someone who may be renting, someone who's renting, this is a bad example, I guess, for school district taxes, but we always, throughout all, I mean, everything that we do, even the utility fees, like everything always goes to the property owner. Because that's, at the end of the day, it's our lien is against the property. So when we're collecting for you guys, and that's sort of the teeth to it too. So even like, say an individual filed for bankruptcy, and they think, okay, I have a personal discharge, I don't personally have to file bankruptcy. Everything we do for you guys is against the property. So they can, that's fine. You might have a personal exemption from your bankruptcy, but if you want to keep your property, you need to pay this because it's a lien against your property. It's not against you individually. So everything we do is against the property. So yeah, a property owner will always get it. We don't send it to the bank. And just frankly, we couldn't because the law wouldn't permit that, because again, there's privacy issues. Like, we're careful what we do. There's a lot of consumer protection laws. We have 2 attorneys on staff. 99% of their work is compliance. So they're always just sort of, not only Pennsylvania, they're scanning everything in this, and basically in the country as to go on with collections and making sure that we're always ahead of the game and we're never doing anything controversial. I remember years ago, this was not a law firm, this was a collection firm, but a collection firm got sued. And the reason they got sued was on the outside of their envelope, there was a number. It was a very innocuous number. It was their own file number for their own sake, if it got returned or whatever. But the court found that by putting that file number on there, someone could see that this could be a collection issue, something. And that firm was fined like $1,000 for every letter that went out just for having an innocuous. We're not going to get in that trouble. You know what I mean? So we have attorneys on staff that are always looking at everything. So we're extremely careful. So, but everything does, to answer your question, goes right to the property owner, not to a bank. Never would happen. Yeah. The only time the bank gets notice is if we do have to list a property for sale. At that point in time, we have to notice all stakeholders in the property. They would get notice that this is out there. And frankly, sometimes they end up just paying it because they realize like their lien's at stake because your tax lien is more superior to theirs. But no, it wouldn't go to a bank.
I have a question here.
Sure.
On your chart collection summary, you have the column that's labeled percent of collectible base pay.
Correct.
Can you explain, starting from 2006, where we're currently, those numbers? So you have 114.7% in 2006, and then at the bottom of that page, you have 93. So you're collecting 114.7%?
So that's right. So that amount is including base, penalty, and interest, right? And it also it's knocking out. So over the years, I guess in 21 years, there was a couple counts that were either exonerated or exempt. So it was like a total of 104,000 over the. I guess we've collected for you guys 19 million too over the 21 years. So out of the original, the base charge was. I guess the total base charge of all those years was like 17 million.
I think my question to you is, I'm asking for a trend. Is this trend telling me that there's less collections going on than what you had before?
No. So right, obviously everything, like, so last year, on this chart, 2026, our collection rate's 27.9%. And the reason is because, this chart was good through April 30th. The first collections on that were 3/3. So we started collecting last year's delinquent taxes this year in 2026. Right. Our first notices went out on March 3rd. So basically we've collected 27.9% in less than 2 months.
I guess let me rephrase my question.
Sure.
Looking at this chart here, it looks like you had a better percentage rate. And I'm not saying because of the firm itself, I'm saying the health of the customer's financial ability. So I'm looking back at 2006, we had 114.7%. People were paying more. What I'm trying to find out, what I'm trying to ascertain from you and your firm, because you deal with so many districts,
sure,
is the taxpayer getting more burdened now, and you're finding that your percentage of collection is less because their inability to pay? I guess that's my question.
No. Yeah, and I don't think, because
I see a trend here, and I'm not saying that it's your firm that's doing it, but I'm looking at the actual taxpayer with the high inflation rates that are going on. Are you finding some taxpayers are finding it more difficult to pay their tax bills?
Are you seeing, you have more clients in this area. Are you seeing anything with regard that would indicate that? Our collection rates are pretty consistent. That's what people always ask us, like, what would you prefer? Would you prefer a good economy, a bad economy? For us, it's kind of consistent. During COVID, this is sort of a weird statistic, but during COVID, like, we told our clients, and you included, we said, COVID hit, we think you should do a moratorium on collection. We should just put everything aside, which we did. And we basically told our clients, like, this is a bad time to collect. Let's hold off. And then we waited county by county when, remember, it's the sort of the red light, green light, yellow light. We waited till the county went green again. And we said, okay, I think we can probably start collecting again. And despite that hold during that year, so our clients on average lost between 2 or 3 months of collection. At the very end of the year, for almost all our clients, like, they actually had better collection rates than the year before, despite that. I think some of it was, I mean, there was some COVID money that was floated out there. I also think that the people just sort of like appreciate the fact that they got that little extra time and that our clients work with them. But I mean, the trend, I mean, looking at the trend from your statistics, I mean, it's pretty even. I mean, like, it's obvious that in the very out years, your highest collection rates, because like someone might have filed for bankruptcy. So if someone files for bankruptcy, like, that debt could be on hold for 5 years, potentially 3 to 5 years, depending on their bankruptcy. At some point in time, that's going away, and then they're going to have to pay it. So there's different reasons why sometimes in a given year, like a given account might not be collectible that year. We have to wait on it. Maybe they file an affidavit of defense for some reason. There could be some reason. There could be someone moved, someone died. There could be issues. Like, when we deal with all these types of issues for you guys, but like, yeah, every account's not as smooth as the next account. There could be something that we have to deal with. The property owner is out of state. When a property is out of state, we have to do out of state service. So the sheriff doesn't go and hand them. We have to do a separate motion to get the court to approve this type of service.
Right. And thinking, and again, this is not against Portmore. I'm just curious of the health of our taxpayers. So I'm looking here at number of files and number of certified notices sent. And if I scan down those columns, I see a bottom and out during 21, 22, and an uptick. Again, this is not against Portnoy. I'm curious to see, with all the districts that you manage, if the taxpayer has had the increased burden of taking care of their obligations. Again, not against Portnoy.
I mean, I'm with Giant Chime. I would say probably not in this, because of this statistics. Of last 2026, so this year, we're collecting from last year a total of 209 accounts. That's the second lowest ever, right? You had 1 year where you had 196. So 2022, 196. That was the lowest. This is the second lowest. So, I mean, that means the least amount of, for 21 years, this year is the second least amount of delinquent taxpayers that you've had in your history for the last 21 years. So to me, that figure would indicate that people are having problems with the people that are delinquent. I mean, again, you can spin numbers a lot of ways, as you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
But that's a pretty, I mean, to me, I mean, if people really struggle, we would see a lot higher delinquencies, right? Dan, do you want to chime in?
I think that's accurate. As a general trend, no, I don't think that we are seeing a greater number of delinquents per client, this year or last year over, kind of the preceding years. Maybe that will change in the future, but thus far that hasn't panned out.
So, and Diane does all our Bucks County districts, all our Montgomery County districts, which are really, we're throughout the state. We're in 32 counties. For our school districts, a lot are right here. I mean, it's really the Philadelphia suburban area. That's where most school districts that we represent are. And it's pretty indicative. But yeah, to me you're right. Someone could look at these numbers and maybe try to argue something else. But the fact that there's, again, the second lowest number of delinquencies, I'm not sure that that's a trend that you would say that people are having trouble.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So I'll just sort of piggyback on what Director Ramos said. I'm seeing that we were always well over 100% collected. And then in 2024, we're down to 93.4, 2025, 78.7. And I'll just bypass 2026 because it's not complete. So could you just give us any insight onto, why for so many years we're well over 100%, and now for the last 2 years, once again, forgetting 2026, we're 93 and then 78. Just
Sure.
Any thoughts on that?
It's just time, right? So give us 2 more years and they'll both be over 100%. I mean, that's just right. I mean,
So those
could
could go up. You'll look back if somebody in
we're still collecting on it, right?
in 2024 you're still collecting.
Still collecting, right? So yeah, exactly. And the reality is, for some people, I mean, you can argue. No, I don't know if any clients ever really said this to me outwardly. The reality is, like, for people that we didn't collect from yet, you're probably getting 10% interest on that amount. So I mean, like it's, and you want the money today, and we're trying to collect it today for you guys and for us too. Like we don't get paid until we collect. So we basically we're in the same boat as you in the sense we've done all this work. You provided all these services. You haven't got your taxes. We haven't got paid for our work. So our incentives are aligned, and on top of it, as I mentioned, there's different parts in our process where we put money on the street for you guys. When we do the lien, when we do the registrar of fashion, like we actually put our money out there, hard money for the cost, and we don't get it back. So our interests are aligned. But for you guys specifically, again, like while you were waiting, again, once that lien is filed, you're getting 10% interest. So it's like you want it today, but at the same time, you're getting some benefit from that. And again, that's also the incentive.
That part I just didn't understand.
It's just the time.
Is still an ongoing.
Just a component. And this is the
fine.
exact same thing for like, right now we're at 27.9% for 26. I'm going to send you a report at the end of November. I always do a summary. I send to Chris just of how we've been doing. Just as a reminder, that number is going to be like every other year. So it's going to be a nice high number by the end of this year.
Yeah, I mean, the only other comment that I'll have, and this is getting a little bit into the weeds, we as you said, very rarely are you ever having to take somebody, to sheriff's sale. About a year or so ago, though, there was an instance where I guess our then director of finance, came to us and said, "Hey, what do you want to do here?" And it had seemed to be something that, luckily, we don't talk about this very often, but had seemed to, at least if I remember from our discussion, seemed to have like, how did this get here?
Yeah.
Right? Like this. Why weren't we discussing this earlier? It seemed like it had gotten to be a really tough situation. I'm assuming that you had gone through hardship and you've done everything that you have, internally. I will just say that since we have this opportunity, to be sitting here in front of you, I'm not quite sure if it was our district that knew about it and just was letting you guys do your thing and didn't get to this committee, or whether it's just historically you guys were doing your thing and then all of a sudden it got to a point where you reached out and said, "Hey, you need to talk to the fiscal committee." But I was concerned that it had gone so long and had gotten so dire, and then it came to our table. So I'm just, and I'm not, you
Are you
don't
talking
know.
about like one particular property?
Yeah, because luckily we don't do this, very often.
Yeah.
So once again, this is not please don't take this as,
No.
like an attack or anything like that. It's more of, hey, you're here. So I just want to share an observation that I had. And like I said, it could have very much been that our district was aware of it, but they were just letting you do your thing and it never came to us as a committee. So I just figured I would share that with you. That's just something, if it was something more that, hey, no, you guys sort of handled and it got to this point, I would love if we continue this relationship that there maybe be a little bit different communication, because I would have liked to have known as a committee and school board member that was getting so far into the weeds.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
at least,
we're happy to have that open communication. I mean, what I can tell you too is, I mean, at the end of the day, no one should lose their property that's in a hardship situation. I mean, that's what our hardship program is for. And they always have the ability to enter, even late in the process. But again, earlier the better. If it's a hardship situation, they can contact our office. We can provide them a hardship application. It's online on our website. They want to get one from there. I mean, yeah, I mean, the reality is, like as I mentioned, we sold very few properties last year. I don't know this is a fact, but I would put a large wager on if I was betting that none of them were owner occupied, or very few of them are owner occupied. Usually when we actually sell a property, it's not even someone that's even living there anymore. So in a situation where someone's a hardship, just get into the hardship program. You know what I mean?
well, but what I don't want to get into the weeds too much, but what my observation was that your hardship program didn't work, and then it created a bigger issue, maybe because you were so lenient, okay, getting into it. But once again, I don't want to waste our time
Sure.
on this.
And
It was
maybe
more an
Chris and I can
observation
talk
that
about
since
it
you were in
offline
front
a
of
little
us
bit,
that
too. But
I
yeah,
wanted.
if there's improvement we can make to sort of facilitate so that.
Or it might have been on our end, so once again, it's more that the opportunity was here. It's not a dig.
No.
It's not,
We'd
anything
rather know
else.
about that.
And I'm going to throw you a bone that, I think one of the properties that you're mentioning of 7 that I believe I'm correct, I'm familiar with, was a landlocked vacant property that has no value to absolutely anybody except a neighboring property owner. So I think that's one of those 7, okay, that I'm familiar with that you took, just to, share for everybody to understand. no house, nobody living there, one of these really, and I think probably the people, the heirs of the property finally were like, why are we paying this? Like, why are we paying a tax bill?
We see that.
So.
But we do just, before anything would be listed for sale, like, we always provide notice. So that there should be no surprise at the end of the day, like, how'd that get listed for sale? Like, we're gonna provide notice ahead of time that we're doing this. But again, pretty rare, like, it's pretty rare, but you do, unfortunately, if you had no teeth at the very end of your process, people would realize, like, I can just sit a little bit, I'll pay when I feel like it. So
100%.
yeah, so. Anything else to add? I mean, I feel like I've been talking a lot today. So.
Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for having us out. Yeah, and again, we love doing the work for you guys, and like, if there's ever a need for conversation, we're here. I mean, we're always happy to talk about that type of issue. Like, if we can improve our process for you guys and make it even better, great. We'd be happy to do that. So, right.
All
Thanks
right,
for having us
thank you
out.
very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
Still the same.
All right. So I'm going to ask the board if we can jump to 4E, Sentinel 1, since we've got Gary for a few minutes.
Sentinel One is our endpoint protection. We're looking to renew our agreement with them for 3 years. It comes out of Capital Area IU, and they have procured this pricing. We're also adding the addition of a SIM, which stands for System or Security Information Event Management. And what that does is that collects log files from all our network equipment, all our servers, all our endpoints, and it detects cybersecurity incidents and alerts us to those. So this is a 3-year agreement. We got into year 2 with our existing agreement. So we only had 2 years in that agreement. So this is a 3-year renewal.
Are there any questions?
I have one quick question for you, Gary. Going back to the capital projects outlook, and it's not on here, but since you're here, I'm going to ask you the interactive projector upgrades for the elementary schools. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's the replacement of some of our existing ailing projectors that are in upwards of 12 years old right now. So they're getting replaced with interactive projectors that allow the interactivity on the screen, much like the TV screens that you see that have, touch screens, but these are a lot cheaper.
Right.
So.
And the ones that we have there now, do you think they have another year left in them?
Potentially.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Great. That's all I have.
Gary's the expert. I have no idea what he's talking about, so that's what we need. That's what we need.
Thank you.
Percent.
All right, we'll jump back to 4B, Community Climate Survey RFP results and recommendations. Dr. O'Connor.
Yeah, sure. So in March, the Fiscal Committee recommended putting out an RFP for community climate surveys. So that was completed in March, and then the vendors came through, and this is just to give you Thank you. Sure. Okay, so we had, if you look at the back, this is the RFP specifically. If you look at the back page, you'll see sort of the outcome of submitting that RFP. So we had 9 vendors submitted proposals. 7 of those vendors provided pricing for both district staff only and all stakeholders. Only for the RFP, if you recall during that conversation, we wanted those 2 price points. So one if we surveyed everybody, and then one if we surveyed the district staff only. So there were 2 proposals that came in that met all the requirements of the RFP. One of them, which was, well, Question Pro and then Panorama Education, both came in as the lowest to submit a proposal. One was lowest in surveying everybody, and one was the lowest in surveying district only. They were both very close. in their rates, and both proposals, they were well done. They were both quality proposals, so really my question for you would be, do you want to go with the lowest proposal submission for all staff, or the one that was the lowest for district staff? And that's a question that you'll need to answer as to then which one we go ahead with. But I have the proposals here if you wanted to take a look at them, and then the rates. The rates came in anywhere from $22,500 for all stakeholders down to, again, $9,210, which was the Panorama Education Group.
Do you know how the delivery system would be and how they do the survey? Electronically or snail mail?
Electronically, primarily, that's what they had in their,
Proposals?
yep. Question for.
Questions?
How does this, what we're asking for, how does this compare to what we surveyed from the comprehensive plan?
Well, you could probably ask different questions. They sort of have dashboards that are put together for different
So
questions that are
it would
asked.
be different information.
Yeah, it's a third party, and I think that's what the request was, that it wasn't in-house. And that's what both of these would provide.
Right. And I think another question was that people were bringing up if it was totally anonymous. So they would ensure that their privacy was, in other words, somewhere in there that it stated that this was supposed to be a very anonymous, totally anonymous survey, where data from the individual filling out the survey is not being collected.
Well, there were technical requirements that were included as far as data security. I mean, I can check that they're both anonymous. I think that was the point of it, but
yeah,
I don't think.
Because I remember questions being brought up about that.
I don't think either of them required you to put your name or phone number or anything in there. So.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I guess having been a part of this process many, many, many times in the past, my question is why? I mean, as you mentioned, we've done this, every couple of years with our comp plan. There's been follow-up, there's been executive summary, there's been a list of actionable items that were prepared. So I guess I'm, prepared by after we had done the anonymous survey. We've had follow-up meetings with staff, with community members. So I guess I'm not clear as to why it's being requested. Just curious.
If I can answer, I think the only thing I can see right now that's different, not that we couldn't do it in-house as we've done numerous surveys before, but there are conversations from the board. We're looking at, school district enrollment. We're looking at facilities. Now I think we've sent surveys along those lines, like probably 10 years ago. And at that time we were going to look to maybe do a third party vendor, but then we just did our own in-house. So I think over time, the board has gone in-house, but if the board wanted to do something with stakeholders, it could be tailored specifically around this issue of declining enrollment. And
yeah, I guess, and I respect that for sure. I guess my question is just at a time where we're talking about expenses and drilling down and saving money. I mean, I'm just perplexed. Sorry. Thanks.
Thank you. Cora?
Well, is this company that we're looking at, these different companies, are they actually just doing a survey? Because I thought the intention was to have the recommendation come to us as to best process for moving forward. It wasn't when we
You're
talked
talking about
it at
something
Buildings and
completely
Grounds.
different.
so we've done 2 RFPs.
Yeah.
The first one was with KCBA. They're doing the demographic study on population, and then also our facilities. So that's a separate issue. This is just surveying the community, or
Is this
our
like the
staff.
360? Because we talked about the 360. Is that what this is supposed to be for?
No. The 360 stuff is, coming from the board. Is this the 360? Could be. But I'm not.
That was yours.
No,
The-
yours was a climate survey.
Correct.
We wanted, that was like a climate survey for
Correct.
the general community and we looked at like an example from Philadelphia School District, and what they had done. So I think the original intent of this was like the climate survey. Now, I think since we've talked about 360, like you said, Bridget, this could then be a potential for 360 if we like it. So,
Yeah.
sorry.
The RFP request, it was titled Community Climate Survey Services, but it is a survey company, so,
So this is
what they do.
separate. This is not the building.
Totally separate.
Okay.
Totally
Okay.
Yeah,
separate.
two different things.
Thanks.
So if I can just throw out, and we've sort of all said it, but I'll do my best to encapsulate it. This was really brought up by Director Ramos, and maybe, I had some support in it, and I think some other directors did as well, about going out with a separate survey, climate survey, so forth. But then the question was, well, how much? What is this going to cost? So that's what this RFP was really about, was getting the cost. So I don't think the question in front of us is which one are we going with? Because now that we have the cost, we have to decide if we even want to do this. And now with the added idea of what we're doing with KCBA and everything else, there's another layer now that may come into place with this. So that's just my suggestion, is that the question isn't picking a company. It's now that we have this piece of information, I think the entire board needs to discuss next steps, if any next steps. My 2 cents.
So I missed all the 360 talk of EPS, sorry. So is the 360 is a climate survey? Yes, no, it can be? No.
Not really. The purpose of a 360 is like the 360 concept. You get feedback from everybody around you.
Okay.
And so it's generally, as you are looking for ways for yourself to grow, you do different surveys to maybe if I'm an administrator, if I'm a principal, I might do it to my teachers, or I might do it to my parents, even though we said no for the community for right now. But it's people all around you to give feedback as you're deciding, okay, what are my strengths? What are my needs?
So that would be an administrator, a survey for
Exactly. And I think that's what we
administrators.
have in the comprehensive plan, right? The administrators? I don't remember either.
I think so.
So that's each principal or building leader, whatever, would send out a targeted survey to certain stakeholders.
That's right.
Whereas this is including them, but everyone. But through the 360, you might get to everybody anyway.
No, I don't think we will, because we don't want to do the community at the 360.
And it's really just, it goes back to the administrators.
That's
So when
right.
you're saying we, like this community survey is a board, like you're seeking, you can tailor your questions, you can do general questions. We've done it before on, do you feel safe sending you? Do you have enough opportunities? Do you feel engaged in your school? Like there's those kind of culture, climate type questions. But a 360 goes back to the administrator for them to get feedback from different stakeholder groups. So the we is different, Karen, as far as like, who the information is for and how it's used.
Well, it's the demographic study, which we're going to do. When I get information on that, is there anything through this survey that would support or add information to the demographic, do we think? It would
I
just
think-
be opinion, correct?
Yeah, but I think, depending on where the board heads next year regarding the information they get back from demographics and the building use, you are going to want to survey the community as to how they're feeling on these issues. So, but, is that a component of KCBA's work? I don't think so.
Okay,
Have we as a district done that? Yes.
Okay. So we can,
Around 10 grand would be the answer to the question.
That's
Around
right.
10
Yeah,
grand, yeah.
Around 10 grand.
and it could be sent out after we get the report back from KCBA.
You can survey, absolutely, you can survey your community.
So there's no timeline on this.
I need to see how long these rates hold. I would need to take a look. I'm not sure if it expires in 60 days or sometimes they're written in that way, but I would need to take a look.
I would think, Jim, that one survey and this survey that we're talking here are two different surveys altogether. Okay, so one has nothing to do with the other. Okay,
I don't see that, but
right. Yes,
When we were in the comprehensive planning meeting and on the academic session, I remember we were talking to Michael Donnelly about surveys, and he said he can put together surveys like that, like I'm not, I guess I got lost somewhere I don't understand why we would be going out to pay a company to do this when Dr. Donnelly is fully capable of putting that together.
It's strictly for the anonymity, Cora. It's where the results go back and people feeling comfortable to answer honestly.
But if we're doing a 360 in addition to this, we're going to pay for that too.
Well, that's where I think moving it forward to the board to have this discussion would make the most sense.
agreed.
Okay.
okay.
I would just have one more comment, and that would be, first of all, the surveys that we sent out are anonymous. We have in the past pulled all of the data together. I believe you've received, if I'm not mistaken, raw data from Comp Plan. And I think personally, I think that before you would entertain spending $10,000, there should be a revisit to the Comp Plan data to see what is there and what is, what are the actionable items that we haven't addressed. That would be my plan.
Thank you.
Bring them out.
And
I know.
do we have any other questions in regards to this? So I will agree with Director Wenhold. We have more discussion on this and bring it up to all board members. I will state that some of the feedback that I've been getting from individuals is that they would be more, they would fill out a survey more honestly if they knew there was more anonymity to it. So thank you very much, everyone, for your inputs. Thank you.
Okay, so what does the committee recommend?
To move forward, we'll have a discussion in regards to this and move forward on perhaps selecting one of these options that you have brought forth.
So no motion, it's just a discussion item.
We'll have a discussion, absolutely. Bring all board members involved with this.
And if
We'll duke it out and then we'll move forward.
we can pull together the comprehensive plan surveys from over the years, period of time. I mean, we do it every 3 years. We used to do it every 5 years. I'm sure all the information's there somewhere. We just have to have somebody, pull it together and maybe see any trends.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, item 4C is the list of meetings for the fiscal committee for the subsequent year. I worked with Dina to put this list together.
And we are sticking pretty much with, it looks like most of them. although September's not, but that's probably falling also with the calendar. So I guess my request for consideration with this is, we've had discussion before about moving fiscal to a different evening, day, well, no, evening. So board members that work full-time can attend if they would so choose. And there is some difficulty with the way it's done now in the ability to listen to the recording and be prepared for things that will be on the agenda for Wednesday. So my recommendation for us for consideration is, if we can't move fiscal, can we move the regular board meeting to a different week? So if we bump fiscal, or if we keep fiscal where it is and move the board meeting to the fourth Wednesday, is there a reason why that can't be done, and move our committee meeting up? Then we have all our committee meetings before we have the board meeting.
Dr. O'Donnell?
Yeah, we discussed this before, Chris. It's really timing on, there was like.
Well, that's with fiscal, correct. It was discussed that this is the best place for fiscal. So that's why my recommendation is not moving fiscal, it's moving the regular board meetings.
So that would flip. That would flip.
Extracurricular and buildings and grounds.
Extracurricular to the third.
Yep, and moving this to the fourth.
Yeah. Chris, any questions from a?
No, we'll manage if it's the fourth. The board meeting.
Well, but I think we're not in a position to make that decision for moving the board meeting at this meeting.
Right.
So.
Well, right. I mean, I'm just putting that out for consideration. Whatever needs to happen with that now, that's just my ask.
I have a question for you. Chris, is it a possibility to move the fiscal meeting to the Thursday before the board meeting? Because then you have your committee meetings on Wednesday evening, right?
The second Thursday of the month. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, because what Linda brings up is that we want to try to give some board members a little bit more time. If we do it the few days before
right.
our normal board meeting, let's say on Thursday. I don't know if Friday doesn't work for a lot of people, but I think Thursday, because that's
We can make it
after.
work.
I think maybe that's another way to look at this, and that would give people the weekend, perhaps.
Correct. Yeah.
So move fiscal, these committee meetings to 9 o'clock on Thursday mornings. Do you want to check with Colleen with the timing? I mean, I feel like we've gone through.
We did.
A couple times.
Yeah, we did.
That puts a little bit more pressure on Colleen
Correct.
Right.
and Dawn.
All the bills aren't in quite yet. Well, I guess they are.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just 2 days pushed to the right, or to the left.
Pay period is the second and the fourth.
And I think last time we talked about this, it was, there'll be some information that's not included. I mean, are you comfortable with that? Because that's what we're saying.
I'd rather we stay with the Monday.
For the Monday? Okay, just.
But it doesn't change Linda, your suggestion of flipping
Of
it.
something, right.
Sounds like that's got to go to the full board to talk about.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Then
I think the issue may have been, and Linda, you can clarify this, because Betsy's the one that brought this up, but
Mhm.
a lot of it was the issue with the owl, because.
No, it was the time, Cor.
I know,
She
but
didn't have
she
time.
couldn't go on and watch, she couldn't, because the owl wasn't working and she wasn't able to catch the meeting afterward.
Well, but it often runs into her schedule, though. She doesn't have time, if she has other meetings on Tuesdays, to catch it once it's posted before the Wednesday board meeting. It has more to do with her schedule. There have been times when it hasn't been up, but she has conflict with other things going on. So I think giving her extra days would be helpful.
So if I can just throw out one thing, and I certainly want to see if we can work this out, and I certainly want to be delicate to Betsy's needs, and her desire to be a well-informed board member. However, I also just want to say there's a reason why we have committees. And the reason why we have committees is that we put people on those committees and want to be on the committees, and we trust that they're going to do the right kind of work. And then we have the opportunity to review those minutes. We have the opportunity to call individual members with any questions that come up. We have the ability now to look at the recordings, hopefully if there's enough time. And then there's a report at the school board meeting. And as you've heard from me, when I was not on buildings and grounds, or I could not make a buildings and grounds committee meeting, I'd ask the question, well, how did we come up with this decision? And it added time to the meeting, but you know what? I actually think our general public appreciates that. They appreciate, instead of just seeing sort of a, this is what's recommended, okay, rubber stamp, and we move on. So, you know, while I'm fully, you know, engaged in the process of talking about can this be moved, I've also heard this come up occasionally over the 13 years of being on, you know, on the board, and there's always been an issue and a reason why it's on this date. And we've still been able to get through, you know, in all these years. So, you know, just my 2 cents.
If we move the regular board meeting to the last week of the month, does that give enough time for approvals that would happen at that meeting?
Right. So from a paying of bills standpoint, that's why I want to just triple, quadruple check with the business office that if that meeting flipped to the 4th, it seemed from a structural standpoint seems easy enough, right? But I want to make sure the business office is very comfortable with what bills, when we can issue bills and those payments. If cutting it back close to the end of the month will cause us problems. I don't know if it will, but I would want Chris to work with his business department to make sure.
I'd like to hear what Colleen and Dawn have to say.
Absolutely, that makes total sense.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes. I've been through this discussion a few times. And like a lot of things, this seems to work the way it is. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, but we could definitely check on switching to the 4th. But I don't need to say the end. Just to make sure that this is.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I've been through the discussion a few times too, and it's been like the last year. But I brought this up like a year ago. This is when we discussed it because again, Betsy, Sylvia, and Jim Ott, can't attend these Monday mornings. And Scott, I totally agree with you on the perspective of this is why we have committees, and this is what the responsibility of the committee is. However, 90% of our board meetings are fiscal items that we're voting on. And it's just really hard to have the background and knowledge, even if you are watching the recording. It's just different being here and being part of the conversation. And I know I've said this a million times before, my previous 2 districts had no committees. And so everything was a committee of the whole. And while I don't suggest that for everything, I do suggest it for fiscal. I just think that fiscal is just such a big topic. But I know we're not going to go there. So I do think, though, that anything that we can do to try and have a time where all board members can, if they are able to participate and come and at least listen in, I think that's worth looking at.
That would be work sessions.
One more, Cora?
We have asked for work sessions, and if we can do that, I think that would help Betsy and those who can't come out to fiscal meetings. We can have fiscal work sessions. It wouldn't have to be a committee meeting. It would be the board as a whole, just like I had shared, Parkland does this, and the board as a whole, they get together, they have a work session, and it's just open discussion. Well, they usually do topics, don't they? They do topics, but it's a work session. It's not a board meeting. They're not voting. The board just gets an opportunity to, and they do it before their board meeting. So, maybe once a quarter, do a work session on fiscal matters. That would be up to you, Saul.
I think we bring it up as a board. I think that's something that's very amenable. I think that's an easy thing. And the more participation, the better, because then when you go and you see what's been decided, then there's no excuse, right?
Right.
How's that? Okay.
Just a little bit.
Thank you.
History. Originally, when your dad was on the board, and I started on the board, the first meeting of the month was a work session.
There you go.
And then the second
The
meeting
pendulum
was the
swings, right?
business meeting.
Yeah. Let's
Great.
do it.
Thank you, Cora.
Do we have enough direction, Dr. O'Connell?
The committee recommends adding a discussion item to the May 20th board meeting, just to discuss the fiscal calendar.
And you might as well put in their work session. Yeah.
Okay.
To discuss everything.
Yeah, we have quite a few. We have quite a few. That's all right.
Bring a bag lunch on Wednesday.
We good?
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you. Are we good, Dr. O'Connell?
Item
We're great,
4D is an annual item. It's a memorandum of understanding with the Bucks County Intermediate Unit around Head Start. All of this MOU says is that we will share data with BCIU's Head Start program and vice versa. This gives us a leg up on kids coming into the school district from Head Start. Are there any questions?
Dr. Barr?
Yeah, so do we know how many kids we have on the, we just had, and the reason, here's why I'm asking. The other night at EPS, we had a big discussion about our pre-K program, the one that is here in the district, and whether we want to have tuition students. And I think that's coming to the board meeting as a potential discussion item on Wednesday night. So I'm just sort of curious about this one. Do we know how many students we have in Head Start?
I do not know the answer.
Okay, I should have asked you that ahead of time. I'm sorry.
I do. We had 11 and we had one just moved out of the district. I only know.
Oh, that was
This
our
is done,
pre-K.
this is the
Oh,
Head
I'm
Start
sorry.
at
Yeah.
Bucks County.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no,
I'm
no,
so
no
sorry.
worries, no
I was
worries.
focused on
So,
pre-K.
no worries. Yeah.
Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
I'm just worried about that. I'm not worried. I'm just wondering about the Head Start and.
What is this different from the pre-K that we have? I don't understand this.
This would be a
Pre-K is just
different program.
6,
Right.
4 or 5 year olds.
No, it's
Three and four.
it's 3-4. It's the same as the, so I'm just, and again, Head Start, I mean, it's almost like a little bit of a competitor sort of from our pre-K, sort of. And again, I don't want to take options away from parents. I'm just wondering.
The IU contracts out to somebody else anyway, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sure do, huh?
Well, I think, yeah, I don't know. Okay, sorry. Anyway, I don't want to sidetrack this.
It is what it is.
Committee members, do we have questions?
So what, well, I don't understand what we're voting on.
Well, and I guess I wonder only because we have 9 children signed up for this current year for our pre-K. And so are there other children going other places with Head Start that they could be coming here?
I think the IU keeps that information.
Yeah, they probably do.
Well, I will say, number one, on the purpose, share information such as assessment results, health records, IEPs, or other info to help teachers and individual student needs. So they're collecting data.
That's it's MOU, yes.
Right.
Is that all they're doing?
That's all that it is. It's an information.
So this is a survey.
Director Freeman, do we have
No,
any
not a
inputs
survey.
in regards to the
I'm in favor.
Head Start grantee
Forward,
pre-K
yeah.
provider?
Do it.
Yeah, unanimous? Yeah.
Okay. Item 4F, Lakeside Youth Services. This is a 2025-26 tuition agreement to cover a student to the end of the school year. Do we have any questions?
No
Sorry,
reviews.
Lou is not able to be with us.
Yeah, I'm
today, so-
asking Lou too, how many students are in the pre-K, Karen?
Oh,
right?
good, thank
Yeah,
you.
I'm on it.
Head Start.
That's,
The
yeah.
Head Start, right. And I'm sorry, which one did you jump to? We
Yeah.
skipped Sentinel One, we already did that, and we're on Lakeside Youth Services.
Yeah.
Right? And the question is here is the licensing service and how many, Dr. O'Connell, do you know how many times we've used them?
So Chris, did you just say this is to finish the student for the end of this year?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, so we've already as a
Yeah.
committee agreed to use them
Right.
and have an agreement in place.
Right.
So. Great.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're good?
That's correct, yep.
Okay. Item 4G, 4H, 4J, and 4L are all the same. They're for temporary nursing services.
Right.
That's 4G, 4H, 4J, and 4L are all the same temporary nursing services.
So I just have a-
Nurses are hard to get.
Right, and I guess looking at the expense report for last month, so we have no overlap coverage, obviously, and if someone calls out, a nurse calls out, this is when we will use one of these services. All right, just so everyone's aware.
So can I make a suggestion on this? When we go to the board for an agenda approval, can we lump the like things together and make it one motion?
Like, we could do a consent for that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just have
All
motion
nurse,
will be to approve item 6, segment 8.
And
whatever that
tell
is.
what they're for, right? Because they're all for,
Yeah,
You take care of that, Dr. O'Connell?
on it.
what to do with the
Salt
tech
will take
school.
care of it.
I
In this
can't,
motion.
I'm not allowed, but yes, in a motion, let's take care of it. You got it, absolutely. Just put it in the minutes
yeah.
and we'll throw it up there,
Yep.
without a doubt.
All right, item 4I, Southeast Council of Pennsylvania. This is for your student assistance program, provides services 1 day a week. Are there any questions? No?
I have no questions. Does anyone else have a question? No, move forward, please. Agreed? Yep.
Item 4K is an annual item. It's required by the school code that we make available dental examinations. The price is the same as last year and the provider is the same.
Go for it. Yeah. Yes,
Okay, great.
agreed. Right, Jeff?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Item 4M is the annual agreement for special education services with Bucks County Intermediate Unit number 22. The biggest change here is that we're bringing back into district, I believe it's an autism program, Dr. O'Connell.
But it was
Can you, I'm sorry,
Which-
I'm
which
doing
program
too
we-
many things at once right now.
Autistic support.
Can you
It's
just-
autistic support that we're
Yes.
bringing back in.
And what is the question?
No, just what's different.
Confirm, yes, yes, we
Yes.
are indeed, and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Cool.
Great.
Item 4N is to recommend a treasurer. Does the committee have a recommendation?
I'll be quiet.
I'll recommend Saul.
do we need a second on that? I can second. No, that's fine. Whatever. It doesn't.
Is everyone in favor?
Aye.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks,
Would you
guys.
like to-
I have a
Should we look at-
Dropbox. We
Should
could
we have
Dropbox.
two recommendations? Because I'd like to recommend Jim. Jim, are you interested?
I will do it, but Saul is qualified.
If Saul wouldn't want it.
I'll take the responsibility if you all entrust me with it.
We don't trust anybody.
Good, good, my kind of people. Good.
Item 4O is the annual investment plan. There is no
Excuse me,
change.
can I interrupt just a second? How is that going to work? Because I've never seen the recommendation for the treasurer come up at the fiscal meeting. I thought that came up at the board meeting.
So the actual nomination will come before the,
Yeah.
it's just a recommendation.
Yeah,
You're not elected.
I agree. I've never seen it come
I've
to the
never seen
fiscal
that
committee
done
meeting. I was
before,
surprised when
so
it was on the
how did
agenda, to
that
be
come
quite
about?
honest, yeah.
That's my fault. I'm of the belief that if I need to get an item to the full board,
It's got to
I've
start
got to
here.
come to committee. That's just my.
Just
most
take it as
software
a,
thing.
like a nominating committee. You still got nominations from the board.
So will the other board members that aren't here, if they want to nominate someone, will they still have the ability to do
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah, the full
Absolutely.
board.
Oh.
This, I mean, just to cut to the chase, this doesn't mean anything.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what we just said doesn't mean a damn thing.
I would love to know if there's a job description that goes with the treasurer role as well. There's not? No? Okay. You've got to make it your own.
It's spelled, the duties are spelled out in section 404 of the school code.
And in our policy too.
All right, item 4O is the annual investment plan. There is no change to the recommendation of being conservative. We use local government investment trust through Penn Community has a governmental municipal fund. In PA Treasure Invest, Pliget, Peaslift. It's safety first, then yield. Item 4P is the annual approval of an installment program for real estate taxes. This is an annual item. There's no changes.
Any questions?
Fine.
We're good. Proceed, please.
Item 4Q is the Act 153 resolution. The cost of this is about $75,000 a year. This is for the preserved forms.
We have some questions.
Well, I would just like to suggest again, I know I come up against resistance with this. So it's interesting that some say it's only $75,000 and then others say, but it's $75,000. What I would like to know is if this is removed, can it be removed for a year and then come back? So, you know, if you're going through a lean time, though I like to say, and I've been saying to my grandkids most recently, we need to go back to learning a penny saved is a penny earned, right? We've lost that concept. So, you know, I think we're at a place where potentially, as long as we're not locked in, if we can bring it back, I'd like to see where everybody is with this.
It's
Is number 8 mean? Number 8 on the agreement, it's on the resolution itself.
Let's take a look.
I'll read it out loud. Palisades School District may repeal this resolution at any time. In addition, the relief granted under this resolution shall automatically terminate June 30th, 2027, unless this resolution is reenacted to that date. And this has to do, Jim, I guess you would know better than I'm unaware, but Act 153 only has to do with preserved land.
Yes.
Preserved farmland.
Yes.
Mhm.
So does that's not Act 319, or that's not,
It
what's
has to
the
be
other?
319 is not preserved land.
Not preserved land, okay. So this is just the preserved land.
Well, and this is only agricultural preserved land. So, yeah, this wouldn't fall into some of the other ways that land can be preserved. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in.
No, but just seeking information here, absolutely.
And this is the only one that the board has any ability to affect. Yes, no, right?
Board has the
Yeah.
ability to do it
Right,
or not.
right. So we don't have the ability to do that with 319 or with other
Right,
preserved
not
land
319,
things. This is the,
keep in mind, other properties that might get preserved don't get this as an option. Okay, so, you know, if for instance, if a property owner preserves their property through the Heritage Conservancy or through the Tinicum Conservancy.
right, I'm saying this is the only one.
They
that-
don't get any tax break. Okay,
Okay.
this type of tax break. Okay, they could get on their personal
For other-
taxes,
Okay.
you know,
Mhm.
income taxes, there's
Mhm.
things. But yes, with this.
I was unaware of that, Scott. Thank you. Yeah.
So this is the only one that we can do
As-
this with that we know
As
of.
far as I
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And I know a question that's come up for me is, and I mean, I assume I know the answer, but I don't, you know, don't really know, is do we have any flexibility with this regarding it being in place to the original property owner that placed it into preservation? Or can it only run with the land? Or can it be just to that person that preserved the land themselves?
So we should have a professional development on this.
Well, so I mean, I don't know. That's just always been a
Well, that's
question
it.
I've had,
We
and I
need
think
the
the answer
expert.
is no, that it runs with the land. That's, you know, where
Yeah.
I believe it would be, but I have always had that question, or
Yeah.
is there any flexibility, you know,
So,
in that?
yeah,
It's a deed restriction.
Right.
But the tax isn't a deed restriction because we vote on it each year. So that people conserve their property through the other ways that I just said, yes, is a deed restriction. It's not supposed to be able to be broken, you know.
Well,
Okay,
we've
do you-
had this discussion before. There's some question as to, I won't want to say legality, but legislation is pretty specific on some parts and vague on other as to what happens if in this case, the school district would repeal, would you repeal? Would the tax rate go back to original? Or would it, in my case, I preserved my farm back in 95. So my tax rate is frozen at that rate. Now, by the same token, my assessment is what it's been. That doesn't change. If my assessment changes, my taxes change. So, it could be a hardship. It could not be. Right?
Yeah, no, I mean, this just says that act, you know, that can exempt certain real estate property from further millage increases. So that's why you're frozen. That's why what you just said, yes, if your assessment changes, the assessment changes, but we all know in Bucks County, we haven't had a reassessment since the 70s. You know, both good and bad, you know, with that. You know, my whole thing, and I've said it before, is I am absolutely 100% in favor of like doing how this is enacting for you. Okay, the farmer that's an active farmer, they preserve their property, they put it in 100%, you know, give them that millage freeze. Where I question, I'm not saying I'm 100% in the other direction, but just where I question or where I think a lot of people don't understand is sometimes those properties change hands. And is the reason that we do this, is the spirit of it still the same? And I can tell you that from being in this business, it does not even come up in the sale that the millage is frozen. It is not a component of the value of the property, in my experience, to prospective buyers. So I'm just saying we're putting whatever we're not collecting now on the burden of all the rest of the taxpayers. And granted, it's not a huge, you know, in the grand scheme of a budget, in our budget, it's not a huge number, but I just always feel as though I want to bring it up to at least make sure there's an awareness of it, of what we're doing, and what I see as the original intent was for that farmer, that property owner farmer that said, hey, I'm willing to preserve my land, and we're giving them a break. You know, like I said, totally 100% in favor of that. So.
Now, there was another portion of that. There was pretty good data back when it was first enacted. If by preserving the land, you don't incur higher costs for the district or the municipality, police, because of homes being built on the property or what. That was one of the justifications for it, was that, you know, if you have 100 acres, you could put 50 homes on it. And to service those homes, you're going to have utilities in, public service in there, and that costs. And for the school districts, it's more kids, more costs. Now, that was at a time when districts were full and enrollments were going up. It doesn't seem to affect us here in Palisades because our enrollment is not going up. So it wouldn't, you know, a few homes won't make a difference, but a lot of homes would make a difference. So that was part of the reason to do it, was to incentivize the landowner, farmers or not, to not put housing on. So, you know, there's that.
Absolutely, I think,
So I have the county liaison here, the person's contact info. That would be the person that we could call to see if the tax, even though we think we know the answer, but can this tax run with the individual who has applied for it? Or does it automatically stick with the property? We think it sticks with the property, but we'll find out.
I'm pretty sure it's six with the property.
Any further questions on this topic?
Well, what are we doing with it?
I think we're gonna get a little bit more
More
information from
information.
that. Yeah.
Sounds good.
But we have to, of course, we have to have a motion before budget's on whole, right?
Yeah, this has to be sorted, so,
Can we put this item on the agenda and bring the information to you?
that's whatever you're comfortable with.
Yes.
I don't think the information we're bringing, the question that you've asked, think we know the answer to it, so
So this would be on the agenda for this week.
only if it comes as a recommendation from the committee to put it on, or we put it on in, that might be late to put it on early July, because you need, or June, because you need
This
to.
should come with the budget.
Right.
So it can go June.
It's,
Do you need it
it's,
before the budget?
no, it's already planned for June 3rd.
This motion,
The budget.
motion.
okay.
Okay.
We'll
We can
certainly
talk about
have
it.
that answer for you well before June 3rd.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm good with that. Everyone else good? Yep, agreed. Thank you very much.
Item 4R is an annual item. Let me open up the attachment. So in terms of committed funds, we're recommending $1 million for retirement spike fund. That is no change. 500,000 for UBCTS. That is no change. Healthcare stabilization, 1.5 million. That is no change. District-wide building repairs, 6.397. The only change is 1 year of capital projects falls off. So the 6.397 is years 2 through 5 of the capital project. So it's just 1 year short,
Okay, so that's years 2 through 5.
2 through 5.
And I'm looking at the spreadsheet that you sent out to us with all those dates. I have that right in front of me now. And the total you're coming up was 6397, Scott?
Yeah.
I mean, Chris?
Yes.
And that's assuming that we move forward with the auditorium renovation for Palms this fall and any other big projects.
Yes, sir.
Even though we are working on right now with the RFP to see where we stand with consolidation.
One is coming before the other. So whatever you decide to do with the auditorium for next budget is one. And then any information that's coming from KCBA, that's sort of rolling into next year. So
Right.
they are occurring at similar times, but you're not going to have the information from KCBA until August, September. And this is about the auditorium project, if you're proceeding with it, starting July 1.
Right. My question, I guess, with KCBA, their recommendation, in addition to the demographics, will recommend perhaps if and when we do decide to shutter a school, which one that would be?
So they'll give options.
Okay.
And they're looking at the facilities from, what work needs to be done over the next 5 years, 10 years, that type of thing. So they're going to, which we have in other presentations, sort of what our capacity is in each of our buildings. What the population looks like in that area. Is there growth predicted there or not predicted there? So that's what they're going to do. They will give options, but they're not going to tell the board.
Oh, I understand
what you
that.
need to
I
do.
understand. It's
Okay.
for us. I have one more question on their option. Do they also factor in there the amount of energy use each building uses during their school year? I know some buildings are more energy efficient than others, and I'm curious if that factors in as well,
I can
because
ask them that.
that would be
specific
great.
question. I don't think we talked about, I don't know, they may, as a normal course of when they're doing, building.
we've all remember the days when we were renting, and I got a great rent, and then I got my first heating bill for the winter, And the money that I thought I was saving in rent went out the window with my heating bill. All right, so just as we look forward to what we want to do here in the future, I think that is a big factor in considering what we're trying to do here. Yes, ma'am.
So, oh, Chris, I'm sorry, can you go back?
I would love to go.
Sorry. So do we have to do the $6 million right now? Or can we wait till we get all the bids and everything else, decide what we're gonna do and then move it? Because once we move it in there, it's committed, right?
Well, I call your attention to the last, be it further resolved,
Yep.
that the district superintendent or business administrator is hereby authorized and directed to finalize the amounts to be committed for the purposes directed above, based on the unaudited actual financial report for fiscal year 25-26.
Okay.
So if you guys change your mind about the auditorium, we can change the dollar.
Oh, okay.
And the other things too that we want to decide and change our mind on.
Yeah,
Correct?
and then it'll come back in front of the full board for ratification.
So it's not necessarily like it's committed there, it has to be.
Your
It will
commitment
be if
can
we-
change.
Okay, I
Does
love
that
that.
make sense?
Okay, commitment can change,
This
there
is
we go.
not putting it
Okay.
into the,
Got
it's a committed fund, but it isn't a restricted committed fund.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's not,
Get you, Jim Hollow.
Yeah.
I've lost the title.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
Okay.
Any other questions on this topic? Thank you. Chris?
All right, then we come to the budget. Let's, I've got a lot for you.
Oh, good.
Let's start with revenue estimates. So on revenue estimates, I really didn't change anything from the last month. In your local taxes, 29.7 for real estate, 100,000 for interim, 32 for public utility, payment in lieu of taxes, 5,200, and then income tax, 3,200. On real estate transfer, will be at 700,000, delinquent real estate, 800,000. Investments, actually, I think I did bump up investments to 1.2 million for 25-20. Well, these are 25-26 estimates.
25-26, got it.
25-26.
Thank you.
Missions, 25,000. Fees, I believe will land close to where we're at right now, at 12,000. IDEA is finalized at 269.9.
Could you express to myself and the rest of the committee, IDEA, Pastor, what exactly is that?
Federal Special Education.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. Rentals, 90,000. Private contributions, 70,000. Evening school tuition, 38,000. Receipts from other LEAs, this would be for like tuition students coming to us, 27,000. Other tuition patrons, 22,000. Miscellaneous revenues, I believe we're laying kind of where we're at now at 80,000. Refund of prior year expenditures, I think we're gonna land where we're at now at 441,000. Energy efficiency is de minimis. Basic ed formula right now, we believe it would be 3.37 million. That number will get finalized by the Department of Ed by June 1st. Then we've got tuition orphans. I believe we have a couple of students that come in at 150,000. Special education, two components. One will be the core special education subsidy, and the other will be for the heavy hitters. We got $150,000 for the heavy hitter that we submitted for. They call that special education contingency fund. funds.
Okay.
State. Then we've got pupil transportation subsidy. This is a known figure, 909,000, 100,000, and 38.5 for non-public and charter. Sinking fund rentals is already known at 53.3. Health services is already known at 31. Feminine hygiene products is already known at 2,500. Property tax reduction, 1.5 is already known. Sewage treatment is already known, 85,000. School safety and security and mental health, we assume we're going to get what we've gotten year to date. Ready to Learn has two components. One is the foundation at 67,000. The other is the adequacy supplement that every school district who didn't otherwise get a supplement gets at 50,000. Social Security is a function of wages, 803,000. Retirement is a function of wages, 3.6 million. Title I, 222. Title II, 36,000. Title IV, 18,000. So all told, we land lastly at access. We think we'll land at like $10,000 on access. All told, 49.1 million, which is a little bit higher than what the last figure you saw.
Chris, what exactly is access?
That's administrative claims for Medicaid.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right,
Chris, do we get no Title III? We get no Title
we
III
get
money?
no Title III.
And yet we have a multilingual support teacher, right? Is that right?
We do. We have an ESL teacher
Yeah,
that supports throughout.
but
the-
we don't get
actually,
any
we have
federal
two.
support for that, right?
What's that?
We don't get any federal support.
That's the revenue projection. Let's jump to the expenditure projection. Salaries, we think we're going to land at, actually, let me take a step back. Just like I did last month, I did an expenditure projection by function and by object code. They are more divergent this month. The expenditure by object code derives a much lower figure than the expenditure by function code. I think by object code, it's more granular, and I think it's the better projection. So I want to spend our time there. Salaries, 20.8 million compared to a budget of 21.5 million. This is what gives me comfort in how we have the budget for salaries lower than we have for 25.6. We're a little tighter on benefits, 14.6. That's because the Medicaid, medical insurance, looks like it wasn't budgeted enough. Professional services will land at 3.8 million. The board will recall that you took money out of the special education budget and put it into contingency. Part of that was taking it out of professional education IU, which is now a known figure since we've made our last payment. Object 4's property services, we think is going to land higher than the budget at 665,000. Object 500 also is going to land higher than the budget at 7.2. We think that the contracted carriers number was a little bit under budgeted, and tuition private a little bit under budgeted. Object 600, which is your supplies, we think we're going to land well under the budgeted figure at 2.8 million. Property services, again, going to land below the budget at 1.3 million. Object 800, which is other, the biggest component of that is dues and fees and interest on serial bonds. We think we'll land at 200,000. Remember, you don't actually charge anything to contingency. You do budget transfers out of contingency two other object codes. And then we've got principal, which is known at 635,000. So all told, we think we'll be at 51.9, call it 52 million. Now we compare that to the expenditure projection by function code. When I do it by function code, I get a wildly different estimate of 51.6 million. I think the object code is the better estimate because it's built on a granular level. So all told, you begin the fiscal year at 31.1 in fund balance. You have revenues of 49.1. Expenditures by object code is 52 million. That means we're going to use $2.9 million of fund balance in 25-26. Then we look at the budget for next year by function code.
Excuse me, Chris, hold on. So what did we have estimate used for fund balance for 2526? What was our original number?
Let me pull up the
8.1?
8.9 million?
Okay.
No, I don't think it was that big.
Huh?
I know. It's still a monster.
3.3 million was the amount you said you would use fund balance, but you had planned use of fund balance. 2 million for the tax for retirement, 3.5 million for capital projects, 200,000 for the tax school. So the planned usage was 5.7 million. The unplanned usage was 3.6.
Thank you very much.
I think we were on budget by function. The 1100s, we actually have budgeted lower than the current year budget. Again, that's salaries. We think we've got salaries nice and right and tight. Special education at 9.6 million is an increase over 8.3. But remember, last year you carved out 2 million and put it in the contingency. Then we've got vocational services, 1.2 million. We had a presentation on that. So all told, in the 1,000s, 31.1 million compared to 30.9 million in 25-26. In the 2000 series, or the 2100 series, I should say, which is the pupil services side of administration, we think we landed 2.5 million compared to 1.9 million. The big difference there is you carved money out of that budget last year out of salaries and put it into contingency. Then we've got the 2200 series, which includes a lot of your curriculum. We think we're going to land at 1 million. I compare that to where we were in 25 at 874,000. Then we've got the 2300 series. We think we're going to land at 4 million. Remember, you carved salary money out of that and put it in the contingency. 25-26. 2400 series health services have this a little bit tighter than the current fiscal year. The 2500 series, pretty close to what 25-26 is. The 2600 series, we have a decrease of almost 500,000. That's because part of the capital projects in 25-26 was budgeted in the 2600 series. That is not the case in 26-27. Then we've got the 2800s at 1.4 million. Compare that to 1.34 million. A little bit of growth, not much. Then we've got the 2900 series, basically flat. So all told, in the 2000 series, we're at 19.3 compared to 18.5. School athletics and activities, we've got budgeted tight to what 25 actuals were at 1.1 million. scholarships, same as 25, 26, 20,000. The 4,000 series is where your capital projects are. We've got it almost 7 million compared to 1.8 for 25, 26. And again, part of capital projects was budgeted in 2600 series, 25, 26. Then the 5100 series, we've got our debt service at $633,000. And then contingency, we've got at 505,000, which is a little bit bump up from what you saw last. At 505, all told is $59.6 million. When we look at the budget by object code, and I'm going to get to the changes.
I'm sorry, Chris, excuse me. What were some of the additional items we put into that contingency?
Give me a second.
Yes, sir.
I'm one document away from
Yep.
getting to changes.
Perfect,
Let
thank
me
you.
just roll with the budget by object first. So budget by object, did I do budget by object?
Yeah, we did
I
go.
did budget by
Yeah,
object.
yeah.
Okay, you're quite correct, so I gotta get to the changes. Here we go. We started at 58.9 million. We took out of special education, 150,000 in professional services. We put that in the contingency. We took 75,000 out of claims. We put that in the contingency. We took 60,000 out of homebound tuition. We put that into diesel. And then in special education, I've got other changes. Life skills, IU, increased 80,000. Life skills technology supplies increased 1,000. For a BCBA from Bucks County Intermediate Unit, we've an increase of 52.5. Emotional support software, an increase of 3,000. Autistic support intermediate unit, a decrease of 796,000. Multiple disability support, an increase of 107,000. And consultants, SAP, etc., an increase of 260,000. Then we get to the capital projects. The sewage treatment plant upgrades, an increase of 300,000. Palms auditorium renovations, an increase of 1.2 million. Palms HVAC control upgrades, a decrease of 330,000. Tennis court, an increase of 44,000. Intrusion system for PHS, an increase of 30,000. Then we've got some slight adjustments to the salary and benefits of 72,000. All told, it's an increase of 763. Let's call it 764,000. But the lion's share of that is really an increase in capital projects of 1.244 I'm going to pause there on the changes. Should I keep going?
I'm good. Any questions so far? Please continue, Chris.
Okay. Let's talk about the revenues for make sure I got the right file. Revenue by function. Right now, we have a 1% tax increase loaded. Interim real estate, we've got right around what collections were in 25. PERDA, we have what collections were in 26. Payment of lieu taxes, we've got what collections were in 26. Earned income tax, we have 3.1 million, which would be right where we were at with 25. Real estate transfer, we have 728,000, really right on top of where we were at in 25. Delinquent real estate, 765,000, a little bump up from where we're sitting right now in 26. Investments, we have at 900,000. We've baked in at least one decrease by the Federal Reserve. Admissions, right around where we were at with 25. Fees, we've got right around where we're at with 26. IDEA, we have a slight bump up at 279,000. Rentals, we have at 60H5, we're right on top of where we're at in 26. Private contributions, we've got at 83,000, much closer to where we're at in 24. Evening school tuition, we have at 33,000, which is we're close to where we're at in 24. Other tuition, 8,500. That's really an unknown whether we get a tuition student or not, so we're real conservative there. Miscellaneous revenue, these really are hard to predict. We've got that at 19.5 to be conservative. Refund prior year expenditures. This is really the delta on the special education contract with BCIU. We're conservative at 100,000. Energy efficiency, 4,000. We're conservative. Basic ed formula, we've got right on top of the governor's budget. Tuition orphans, we've got right on top of where we were at in 25. Special education, we've got both what the governor projected and we've got an allocation for contingency. We're assuming we'll be successful again. Pupil transportation subsidy, we expect a slight increase over 26 levels, bringing us to where 25 was. Non-public charter, right on top of 25. Rental sinking fund, right on top of prior years, 50,000. Health services, right on top of prior years at 29.5. Property tax reduction, which is now known 1.5 million. Sewage treatment, right on top of prior year at 85. School safety and security, 50,000. School mental health and safety at 75,000. Both of those are hard to predict until the governor budget gets adopted. Ready to Learn block grant at 117,000, which would actually be flat to 26 levels. Social Security at 825,000. Again, it's a function of salaries. Retirement at 3.6 million, a function of salaries. Title I, pretty flat at 225. Title II, pretty flat at 36. Title IV, pretty flat at 19,000. All told, we've got coming in at 49,038. Access at 175,000, I should add, for the direct billings. We have that money, that 175,000 is sitting there waiting for us at the state. So we're confident we can achieve that budget number. 15,000 for access. When you look at 26, I'm comfortable that we'll get there. So let's come back to our projection. So we projected that we would land June 30th at 28.2 million in fund balance. We add the 49,038 and 27 revenues. We subtract the expenditures at 59.6. That leaves you at 17.6. Breaking down that fund balance utilization, that's 10.6 million, 2 million from retirement spike fund, 7.2 million from capital projects commitment. That's a deficit of 1.4 million. So we're sitting better than we were the last time we brought to you a budget. And I just want to highlight two other things. One is the tax increases across the county. At 1%, we are far, far, far lower than anybody else. Tax increase. And if you wanted to know what tax increase scenarios look like for the average taxpayer, at 1%, it's a $45.28 increase, 28, not percent, $28 increase. 2%, it's $77.18, and we can continue going further. At 2.5%, it would be 96.48. So I've thrown a lot at you, and hopefully it was good information.
It's all good information. The bigger question is how much we caught of what you threw.
This last number.
Yeah, it all boiled down to that. No, thank you. Great,
So the question
great,
for the
great,
committee is, what do you want to do with the tax increase?
Do we have any comments from the audience for this? Yes.
I just have a couple questions. Why don't we apply for Title III?
Title III is not an out.
I mean, I'm not the biggest federal fund person in the world,
Do you want
but
to take this one, Bridget?
I don't think we've received Title III funding.
I think we could apply for it. I think we apply, but I'm not, again, I'm
Okay.
not sure.
I
I'm
will
not sure.
find out, yeah.
And since we are
It's been a
going
bit since I've
into
been
that
in
road
federal
more and
funds,
more, again, I'm not the biggest fan of federal funding because it comes with a million rules.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could offset costs of someone. And Chris, this is just on the 2 documents ago, maybe when you were putting forth some of the costs and cost savings, I think for the autistic support class.
Yes.
You had you have almost like 800,000. When we were at EPS the other week, Lou had said 300,000. So you think it will be 8? I mean, I like your number better.
We think it will be 8.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
That 8 is a combination of bringing the class in-house
Yeah.
and sending fewer students out. So it is,
got it.
it's more than what you
Okay.
saw at EPS.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I have a question. I just want to confirm the differences that you've reported, that's net of, that's assuming gaming relief. So
Yes.
these taxpayer numbers are assuming that they will apply.
Yes.
Thank you. And the only other question that I had, and I don't know quite how to phrase this, would be the effect of retirement on this increase. In other words, if I were explaining to the community, if I were still a member, explaining to the community what the differences are, obviously,
We've
fuel
already
and.
backed up.
No, my question is the increase in retirement costs, right?
Are you talking about PESers?
Yes.
We think PESers will.
I don't know quite how to phrase, do you know what I'm trying to say?
The PESers rate's going up a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. And we're using $1 million,
2 million.
2 million to level that out.
Yes.
Correct, okay.
Yeah.
But then we only have $1 million.
The total amount we
But
pay.
then we only have $1 million.
We only have $1 billion left in that Pacers account.
The spike fund.
For the spike, yeah.
So is the proper question, what is that percentage, what is that retirement percentage at?
A little bit less than 34.
Thank you, that was what I was looking for. Thank you very much.
Which is mandated by Harrisburg.
Right.
And that's supposed to go up to what, 37 next year?
In the next
For the
5 years, I
following-
believe it goes all the way to 39.
39,
It was supposed to
and
come.
we only have $1,000 left.
No,
No,
$1
no,
million
no.
left. Oh
A
my
few
God.
more zeros go up, but that's all right. It'll be sucked up real fast
Yeah.
by next year's budget.
So I guess in looking at this, I agree with something that Director Beer has said in the past. If we're looking at a tax increase, have we done everything we can to reduce expenses or increase revenues elsewhere? So I think for me, there's a couple things. Looking back at some of the things that came through on the list that we were given back in March, maybe. We have the after-school bus runs that are going at a cost to the district of approximately $65,000. And again, I know it might not sound like much, but I do think we have to get our heads wrapped around a penny saved is a penny earned. We have 4 kids one day, 2 kids one day, and 3 kids the third day on average that are utilizing that bus. Is that being fiscally wise of the district in spending that money?
Could I add to that and say, I believe Donna a couple of years ago, when this came up, I supported, I really wanted the after-school bus run, but when I said it, I said, let's do it for a year and see if it's being utilized. And I don't think we ever took a second look at it, so maybe now is the time to take a second look at it. Is it really being utilized? Is it worth the,
Is it cost effective is what
cost.
you're asking?
Yeah. So that's one thing.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. I mean, if there's discussion around that,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Anyone have discussion? I think it's a good point to bring up, and I do remember, Cora, that you brought that up the first time around, just so we want to offer services to our children, but the reality is we're in a fiscal crunch, and going back to the slide that Chris put up about what the other districts are doing, consider ourselves very blessed to have individuals with the foresight to do a little better fiscal management. I can't speak for the other districts. I don't know how you could bump up something 4% and not project to where you're going to be, but I do believe that this committee here, this school board, has been doing a very good job at trying to keep things in control. But as we look around in our own houses and see inflation taking more and more bites out of it, people are tightening up their belts more. And I agree with Director Wendell. That's something that we need to look at other things as well. With that being said, Jim, do you have thoughts on the school bus?
Well, my recollection was made basically mainly for the middle school students, where none of them drive. So parents would have to pick them up. I think at the time we felt that it would have been used, I'm thinking 20 or 30 kids.
Yeah. But it's not.
But apparently it isn't. So I think we need to talk to, or have input from the middle school as to what programs are serviced by the bus.
Yeah, I'm just emailing Colleen again. She's out today, but for her to ask CRAF to update the ridership on our late buses.
Well, those numbers came from information she gave us from October and February,
Right.
because it was requested in March. And so we were given that information in March with those 2 months that were looked at as a sample, and that was the average.
I think it was October through February, if I'm not mistaken. So she did a collective for the whole period and then broke it
Okay,
down.
I thought it was just the 2 months, but okay.
Get new information.
And I would just say, of course, at the time, the study was based on, or the request was based on the number of kids that were participating in after-school activities, which, as you know, because of no neighborhoods, et cetera, we have tons of kids who are participating. It is what it is, obviously, if they're not using the buses, certainly it's a reconsideration. But I would also love to see anything that may have happened after. Track is always big for us. So, if you're gonna ask for another glance at what those numbers are, track season has ended. This would be a more realistic time maybe to know what those numbers are. But I mean, it is what it is. They're
Right.
not using it. They're not using it.
Right, and in all fairness, I think it should be an average of the whole year.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
no doubt. I'm
Right.
just saying, just giving you information that, which you probably know, track is a very big time for us.
Okay.
Director Freeman, any comments?
This just about the school buses?
Just the school bus, right? We'll do a line, each item. How's that?
Yeah, I mean, if those numbers hold, it just doesn't make financial sense.
Right.
To do it, as much as my heart goes out to, to anybody that's using it, unfortunately, we've got to look at the whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Agreed.
Chris?
Just want to be clear on something. Since we first trotted the estimate out, it's not 65,000, it's like 34,000.
Oh,
That's the savings. We went back to calculate a more precise estimate for you
Because
guys.
we just added the one day.
What's that?
Because we just added one day. But are you talking about eliminating all after school, all late buses, or just the additional day that we added? So we had 2 days. We added a third day. I think at the time it was like $24,000 if memory
It's like
serves correct.
34,000.
Yeah, that's what we thought additionally it would cost us.
Right.
So are you proposing
Well, let's just
eliminating
get all
all
numbers.
after
Well,
school
wait a minute, I
busing?
hear, how much is it? We have 3 after-school bus routes.
Days.
34,000
3 days.
Each or altogether?
altogether.
All right, do we have 3 buses or 3 days of buses? How many buses do we
It's
have?
only 2 buses.
Two buses.
Well,
a
either
day
way,
is
my
on-
important number is 35,000. That's what's on the table, okay? You either have 3 days of after-school buses for $35,000 in the budget, or you eliminate them and you save $35,000 out of the budget, right?
Yes.
That's, okay, so
And that'll be based on ridership, which we will get those numbers to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Next.
Second item for me would be on the revenue side of things. And I know it will not be looked at favorably, but again, we're in hard times. I believe in paying for what you use. So when we have a district with over 7,000 taxing units and we have less than 1,000 of those taxing units using our public sources here, is our pay to play. You know, I was talking to an alumni over the weekend and subject matter came up. We were talking about things, and the recollection of this individual was that it was much higher than what it is at now, what they paid back in their day. I don't know. I haven't looked at the history of that and where it started, but I think we need to up that. Souderton School District charges $150 per student per sport. I know there were others that we looked at in the area. There's others that pay significantly more. I just think we need to look at that. Instead of saying, well, my tax dollars pay that. And as far as collecting that, I think it's called pay to play. So the payment gets made up front. If it's not made, then the student doesn't play. That would solve some of that running after things. Those are just my thoughts.
Any other questions? Jim?
Well, I like to see the last one you put up where it shows the individual taxpayers numbers
By district,
by, well,
the individual,
yeah,
The
what
village
the
increases.
millage rate would be.
There.
this one. Is that the one you're
Yeah.
looking at?
And I get to the bottom, millage numbers, and I really don't like 122, like 812. Just make it 123.
Jim, it doesn't matter. It almost doesn't,
I mean,
it
it's what
doesn't
we talk
matter
about.
at the end of the day.
$12,000.
I agree with you, Jim. I like, so I'll support you on round numbers.
And then the other question is, let's say you go to 124, that brings in another 250,000. Is it something we want to do? Which obviously comes off of the deficit number. But it rolls things forward a little bit. Because in two years, we're gonna have to come up with the max, I think. Or else a lot of changes on our expenses.
Well, we have,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, continue.
No, that's it.
Scott?
I was gonna ask if Chris has a recommendation. I mean, you're the one digging into these numbers. I know it's, you know, your first time doing it here for us, but I value your input, your knowledge from other districts. You see where we were, you see where we are, you see where we're going. So if you feel comfortable, I would appreciate your thoughts.
I think it stretches the imagination at 1%. Us being at 1%, everyone else is something different. It really stretches the imagination the way that we've come to play. I think in a couple of years, we'll go back and that's
So I'll just throw out that I think it's worthwhile to have that discussion on whether we float a bond, for instance, if we do the renovation to the auditorium, okay, or other things. But to me, that's a separate conversation because the money for that is already put aside in capital projects. So that's not affecting our deficit one way or the other. So I think we should, totally have that discussion, and I have some feelings on what you said, and I'm not real, like I'm on the fence. I can argue both sides of it, but to me, that does not solve where we are here, which is we still have a deficit. All we would be doing is keeping that capital projects number higher by floating the bond. So to me, we talk about that later. Right now, I don't think, and I brought this up at the last school board meeting, I don't think it's fiscally responsible to do 1%. We've been drawing, and we're cutting things as close to the bone as we can. And even with some of our, what we're looking at with the KCBA study and what might come out of that, I still don't see like humongous changes. I see changes, potentially in the right direction, but I don't see anything that's going to really chart us a completely different course. So, I have to say that I'm personally, as much as it, kills me to say this, in favor of more of a 123 to 124 millage, rate. I still don't think it's probably as much as it should be, but to me, it's the best blend of fiscal responsibility currently, as well as looking, into the future.
Any other comments? So I would like,
I'm sorry.
Go.
I was just going to say, I mean, the 2.5%, to me, I think that's probably the top personally. I think with pressure that other pressures that families are dealing with,
yeah.
I think to me, that is saleable, especially having done for the last 15 years, a 0 or right around 1%. I feel like that's something that could be comfortably sold, accepted by the community, given what's going on. And my 2 cents.
thank you.
I suggest 2%.
So I would like to finish then with, the study that we have it's being done by KCBA and will be done.
And they are including energy.
Thank you
Yes,
very, very much
yes,
for
that was
that.
one of my
Very,
files,
very
factoring
much.
energy costs into their analysis,
Great.
yes.
We do have a number of big ticket projects that we're going to be voting on in the fall. I, for one, and I'm just speaking for myself here, I'm not speaking for anyone else, I would put a pause on any big projects until we get a study back and decide on which direction we're going to go with the possibility of closing the school. The other flip side of that is that can it generate income for us with another entity that looks like it wants to move into our district? And by all likelihood, I'm not going to say yes, it's going to happen, but looking at everything that we want to do and how we want to do it, will a year pause hurt anything that we're doing right now? I, for one, think not. But the information that we gather here from this study and we decide on how we're going to consolidate and move forward will also give us more opportunity to offer other services that we want to do. A tax increase, I am never a fan of a tax increase, but this inflationary cycle that we're in right now, for everything that I'm reading, and Chris, you seem like very educated on this, this is going to be with us for a bit. This is not going to end tomorrow. It's not even going to end in 5 years. What I'm looking at right now, we're going into the next decade. So here's a perfect example. GDP, gross domestic product, in this country has hit 100%. We haven't had that number since the end of World War II. Okay, we're at 100% GDP, and these are all our taxpayers, everyone that's living here. Gross domestic, 100%. You have $1.7 trillion in student loans outstanding. You have 1.65 car loans outstanding, and you have a government that's at $39 trillion in debt. To service our debt every year for our country, it's $1 trillion. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We're going to be in this cycle for a long time, and we're all feeling it at home. Everything that we purchase, food items that they do not put in there, fuel items that they put out in there when they're calculating these things, because the magicians down at wherever they are just don't factor those two numbers in. Okay, so I think we have the majority here that understand what we need to do moving forward. I think it would be prudent if we just put a pause X on some of these bigger project items until we get studies in and decide where we want to go and then move forward. We also brought up the fact about a bond. I believe within further study here, we are in agreement that a bond would be beneficial for us, so we don't deplete our funds so much, but it helps us out. And as you said, it's for future generations coming through that will be using the same space. Okay? There's a lot on the table here. We know what happens in our house, right? As we get older, my wife and I decide that we put a big addition and we look at each other, well, the kids are gonna be leaving in a few years. So, no, we just suck it up for a bit, and then here we are. Now we're gonna be empty nesters this fall. Now look at that. We're glad we didn't do that, because we looked and we put the pencil to the paper and we decided not to do certain things, okay? That's all I have to add.
I would say another option, just from what Scott and Jim were saying, would be your millage at 123. So you're not quite at 2.5.
That's a nice round number.
We're just going to break it down to, do you want to do a round number of 123?
Well, I'll go with as high as a half.
123.5?
122.5.
Well, what are you saying, Joe?
I'll go as high as 123.5.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Is that what you're at, Scott? Not to put you on this.
Yeah, no.
I just need to know what my direction is.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Compared to the 1%, that's
I want to say I guess,
$100, man.
I guess I'm going to say 123.5, but I'm willing to hear everybody else. I'm struggling with that. 123 I could certainly live with, but I think for the sake of, I'll go with Jim at 123.5 and hear what everybody else says. Right. I'm really concerned where we are down there. I'm really concerned next year.
It's gonna be brutal.
When instead of 2 million to cover the Peasers, we only have $1 million. There's
Right.
$1 million there right now that we know we're not going to have next year. So.
I'm sorry,
I would say we could keep that number. It's the highest that we're gonna go. We could drop it if we wanted to, but we're gonna decide for Chris right now, what we need to do here. And if we do at 123.5, I just leave it at 2.5%. If I had, just leave it at 2.5. And then we always could, through discussion at our board meeting, right? Decide, but inflation is not going to go anywhere. And this is why we were having these deep conversations of what we need to do moving forward. And I think we've been very fiscally responsible in how we're handling things. But there goes the saying that we brought up back in February. We really need to drill down on each line item. And for next year's budget, it's going to get tougher. It's going to get really tougher. It's not going to get any easier than it was this year, and this year wasn't easy. Okay, so I'm at 2.5%. Jim, 2.5.
You don't have an
I
answer
said
yet,
up
Chris.
to. I said up to, so,
Okay, up to 2.5%.
no, I said up to.
No, he said he was talking
123.5.
Oh, good God.
We're talking two different
3.5.
things.
So
Where we
I'm
at?
okay at 2.5%.
Yeah.
He just hates those
Yeah,
fractions.
No higher
I
than.
just don't like that 3-digit fraction.
You'll be
Two.
fine.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
2.5 it is.
2.5 it is.
Yeah.
If things fall apart at the board meeting, just wanted to make sure you know that if you change the millage amount, the homestead exemption changes. So you would want to table the homestead exemption and bring it back to the second June meeting if you fuss with the millage rate at the board meeting.
Understood.
Gotcha. Other than 2.5%, which you're gonna,
We'll revise
the
the
homestead.
homestead to be at 2.5%. But if something else changes, you've got to table the homestead resolution and bring it back to the second board.
and since the number of board members that we have currently in this room, does everybody understand that?
understand the farmstead, farmstead?
That if we don't go with what's recommended, then that we can't vote on. It's gonna have to be changed.
Like, I'll update this homestead farmstead resolution to match 2.5%. But if something else changes,
Yeah.
table it and we'll bring it back to the second board.
Thank you.
And just an FYI, Chris, we calculated the numbers that were here for 25, 26. And looking there, to date, we're at 69% use of our, which you have the sheet right in front of you, Jim, to the right.
Of budget amount.
Yeah, the budget amount, how much usage, right? Which is in line with what we had for 2 other years. And if I'm not mistaken, 2 of the years above, beyond that they were higher than that percentage.
Yes, but our actual expenditures are 3 million higher than last year.
Right, but we're still at 69%, even though our expenditures are higher.
Yes,
Okay, that's exactly what I'm getting at.
yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Not for lack of trying.
I have one comment. We said fiscally sound, fiscally responsible. There's an and that goes with that. Academically sound. We need a position for our middle school, a coach or an instructional interventionist. I don't see it yet. And I know we have 2 positions, a resignation and a retirement. So just want to make that point in case I haven't, that. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Bear. I greatly appreciate you. Next.
Okay, under financial reports, budget transfers, I believe we have 1 so far. You'll see more next month related to special education.
I just have one question. Dr. O'Connell, I noticed again that generator's still on there. Have they not corrected that, or are all the generators repaired and up and
Yeah, so
running?
that's moving through. This is the generator project at Durham Knox.
Durham Knox?
Yes,
We're still renting that generator?
yes.
The Durham Knox.
Yeah.
They've got to finish the work. We've got
Yeah.
to rent the generator.
Thank you.
Then we've got your financial reports for April, which includes the check register. Prior month to date, we're 3 million hotter than last year. Food service update, Colleen wanted this on the agenda. I'm sorry she can't be with us today. It just gives you a sense of, let me flip this around. There we go. You can see that our utilization for all schools, our participation's at 36% right now. The high school number is good at 35% compared to prior years. Palms is down a little bit, and utilization is lower at the elementary schools. In terms of what that means to your bottom line, sorry, I'm moving too fast. Oh, goodness gracious. The guarantee on the food service contract is a deficit of 16,000. When you compare that to prior years, we were at 14 and 23. '29 and 24. And 35 and 25. So the estimate is realistic given where we planned in the last few years.
So this last number, Chris, what year is this one again here? It's for 35?
24, 25.
24, 25, so that's last year's school year.
That's last year's school year.
So we had a deficit of 36,000 and we're projected a deficit of 16 this year so far?
Yes.
Okay. Questions?
I would just like to ask Whitson's why they feel as though we're going in the wrong direction in the elementary schools, and why they think that is, and what their plan is to change that.
But that's gonna turn around when we start having home milk.
Well, maybe that's their answer. You know?
I'd like to piggyback on that question too. Is there a correlation with their numbers there? And how does that work with enrollment numbers in the schools? If we're projected a decrease and we have seen decrease in numbers, how are they calculating that out? Are they taking the numbers by the student population and then coming up? So that's not, yeah. Thanks, Scott, for bringing that up, because in the back of my mind, I'm like, even the numbers decrease, less kids are buying stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole percentage of what the whole is.
Yeah.
So, I understand when your whole gets smaller,
Right.
it takes less numbers to change the percentage amount,
Right,
but it's still in the wrong direction,
correct.
Yeah. So, just, what their thoughts are with that. I'm not trying to point fingers,
Agreed.
but if you don't look at numbers and then try to gain knowledge from it and make future plans, then that's not a good way to do it anymore.
Agreed.
Let's see if we can't get you an answer. Then we've got the charter school update. For April, we're down a kid. We're at 47, we were at 48 as of the end of March. Right to know, we had a couple of requests. Economic update, state revenues are hotter than they were last year at this time. And that brings us to public comment.
I have one.
Yes, go right ahead, Ms. Landis.
I know the last meeting, we thought it was really great to have the meeting here in the auditorium. You can't hear anything. I mean, I don't know how it's going to come across there, but I suggest we go back to the district office. I mean, I'm not on the committee or anything, but the district office, I don't know, it just, I didn't hear most of what you said. I'm probably going to go back and listen.
I like the air conditioning in here.
I'm
I should have
freezing.
brought a jacket.
What do you all want to do?
I think I'm leaving.
Is it easier, Dr. O'Connell, if we did it over there at the office?
So the only thing when it gets tricky is when we have a lot of guests
I
coming
know.
to speak
I
to the committee
understand that,
on
but-
various issues. So that gets tricky.
Yeah.
This is a difficult time only because there were seniors having an event. It was like a pizza party for seniors or something happening. So I think I would recommend let's try it here for a little longer and just make sure that we're in sync with everything else. We sort of switched here into the auditorium, not last minute. I mean, there was time, but I know that this is a really busy time at the high school with activities happening. So if the first time we met in here, it seemed to work okay because there was an activity in the lobby, then let's try it here again. It just gets so tight sometimes in district office to
Yeah, I know.
accommodate everybody.
I get
Yes.
that.
So I would recommend we give it another shot. We'll try to make sure that the lobby isn't crammed filled with a whole
Then
bunch of
I
excited
suggest that
kids.
you all speak louder.
I was just
Yeah.
going to say,
And
and we'll
maybe-
all speak up.
Yeah.
I could hear Scott. I could hear you really clearly.
I don't
The
know if
rest
that's
of
good or
you,
bad.
I couldn't hear.
You couldn't hear me?
Not really.
Okay, I'll
I
make
was
sure I'll
reading your
speak up for you,
lips.
Cora. All right. Next on the agenda?
Next meeting is
June.
on June 15th.
Here?
Yeah.
Will not be any students in
Really?
that.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Stay careful. It's going to get 96, 97 out there.
Are you taking the paper?